everyone. I'm Jay Wang, Director of the USC Center on Public Diplomacy. Greetings from Los Angeles and USC. We're very pleased to welcome you to our CPD Conversations. Today's program tells the story of how the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, the country's only music school, brought its music students to safety after the Taliban gained control of the Afghan government and transformed the academy into military barracks. And it tells the larger story of the essential role of the arts to build connections, broaden horizons, and to uplift us. This program also reflects the Center on Public Diplomacy's ongoing efforts at the intersection of public diplomacy and the arts. The story is told through a 30-minute documentary, Symphony of Courage, produced by Voice of America. We will screen the documentary, followed by a conversation with two special guests, the founder and director of the Music Academy, Dr. Ahmad Sarmast, and the film's producer and director, Beth Mendelson. We're very delighted that Yolanda Lopez, acting director of Voice of America, is also joining us today. A veteran journalist and producer, Yolanda joined VOA in 2015 as Latin America Division Director and was appointed acting director in January 2021. Her distinguished career in broadcasting began at a Telemundo affiliate in Texas before joining the Spanish language television network Univision affiliates in Los Angeles and then in Chicago. She is the recipient of 3 Emmy Awards. So Yolanda, welcome to CPD, and we're very glad that you are able to join us today. And I'd like to turn the program over to you for opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Whether you are joining us from USC in Los Angeles, here in Washington, or in Lisbon or Kabul, or elsewhere, it's my honor to welcome you for this screening of the Voice of America documentary, Symphony of Courage. This film tells the story of Farida and Zohra Ahmadi, the last students of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, who were evacuated after the Taliban took over last year. Afghan National Institute of Music's founder, Dr. Ahmad Sarmast, joins us here today. So does my colleague, Beth Mendelson, the directors of this film. I think it's appropriate that these films bring us together for this event. After all, music has the unique power to unify, to share our words, our cultures, and our stories. For most of our 80 years, music has been featured prominently in our programming at Voice of America. And that is the reason I thank you, Jay, for giving us this opportunity and this platform to share our film and to share the stories of the Afghan National Institute of Music. The truth is, Symphony of Courage is so much more than the story of 2 girls who can play beautiful music. It is the story of loss, but also one of hope. The loss of the freedom to create, perform, and enjoy music in Kabul mirrors another lost freedom in Afghanistan that Voice of America audiences struggle with each day, the freedom of speech. At VOA, we are committed to promote press freedom, and that is why we bring these stories like the one we are going to bring you today, because powerful forces often want them silenced. We see the need for this each day as people in Afghanistan continue to watch and listen to VOA, despite the Taliban's efforts to shut down free media. Our Afghan audiences hunger for information and for music. That hunger gives me hope. Hope for the young people you will see in this film, hope for the Afghan people that someday they can recover their music, the education of girls like Farida and Zohra, and all Afghans' freedom to express themselves in the concert hall, in their schools, and in any other platform they wish to. I turn the reins back to our moderator, Jay Wan, the director of the USC Center of Public Diplomacy. Thank you for bringing us together for this event. Thank you for giving us a venue to hear the music of these girls, and thank you for hearing their stories.
Yolanda, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we now go to screen the documentary, and for audience, please submit your questions through the question function as the film goes on, and when we complete the screening, we will have a conversation to our guests.
ما پشت فامیلم بسیار دق شدیم. تقریبا 5 ماه میشه که اونا را ندیدیم.
اگه ما در افغانستان می بودم زندگی کردن بسیار برایم دشوار بود. هیچ وقت نمیتونستم با آرزوها و رویاهایی که دارم برسم.
When the Taliban reached the gates of Kabul, I began panicking. I began panicking for the lives of my students, my community. We all know that when the Taliban are in charge, they're going to steal music away from the life of the Afghan people.
Dr. Sarmast has brought together different ethnic groups from all across Afghanistan that have traditionally not gotten along to play music in harmony together in these ensembles. He gave them a life in music.
We've been committed to promoting gender equality in Afghanistan and also to empowering girls and women of Afghanistan through music and music education. Thanks to this commitment, we established the All-Women Orchestra of Afghanistan, Zohra, which became the symbol of emancipation of women in Afghanistan.
نام فریده است. تخلص محمدی است. در مکتب موسیقی به مدت 3 سال میشه که موسیقی میخوانم. خوب است، فضایش دوستانه است. یعنی آدم از عشق میره در اونجا مینوازه.
زهره است، تخلص احمدی. در مکتب انستیتوت ملی موسیقی افغانستان درس میخوانم. از صنف 4 آغاز به نواختن ترامپت کردم.
Farida and Zohra, they are born in a family which is very open-minded. Their uncles, highly educated, supporting girls' education, arts, and culture.
ما خانوادگی بسیار علاقه زیاد به موسیقی کلاسیک افغانستان داشتیم. فریده و زهره گفتن که کاکا ما بسیار دوست داریم موسیقی بنوازیم. باز کم کمک آلات موسیقی رو بهشون معرفی میکردیم. بالاخره شامل شدن، بسیار سریع رشد کردن.
با موسیقی بتهوون، موزارت، باخ، امینا رو زیاد دوست دارم.
من موسیقی های کلاسیک زیاد دوست دارم. موسیقی های افغانی رو هم خوش دارم.
The Afghanistan National Institute of Music was the only educational and cultural entity that the Taliban took over with armed people. They went to the orchestra room, where was a beautiful baby grand piano. So they destroyed that one. They destroyed the xylophone, violin. They destroyed cello, tanbour, sitar. They turned our school into a military barrack for the Afghan network. The building that was always filled in with the beauty of music became totally silent. But the only sound that you could hear was the conversation between the Taliban with their Kalashnikovs.
در انستیتوت ملی موسیقی افغانستان کل آلات موسیقی ما که می نواختم کلش اونجا قفل هستن. ما هم در خانه حبس هستیم دیگه، نمیتونیم موسیقی کار کنیم.
زیاد میترسم از طالبان، خاطر که اونا بسیار آدمای زشت هستن، آدمای بدی هستن. میان به همه چیز مردم میگیرن، خوشی‌هایشان، هنرهایشان، کارشان ازشان میگیرن، ولی برایشان حق زندگی کردن نمیتن. اونا را هیچ وقت آزاد نگاه نمیکنن.
روزایی که تازه طالبان آمده بودن، یک نوع افسردگی دیوانه‌وار آمده. فریده و زهره میدیدم. فریده گریست، گفت که کاکا ما دیگه نمیتونیم که این موسیقی بنوازیم. گفتم نه بچه این دیگه نمیتونیم، حداقل در افغانستان نمیتونیم، ولی امیدواریم که خارج از کشور بتونیم. تنها چشم امید مثلا.
Since the arrival of the Taliban, we've been working around the clock with my team to get the students and the faculty to safety. It was Yo-Yo Ma who connected us with the government of Qatar.
When I heard that these young musicians, and including an all-women's orchestra, Zohra, as part of ANIM, were in physical danger, I felt a particular urge to be able to find any way to help.
The orchestra would not have been evacuated without the Qataris. So the Qataris were functioning at that time as they go between the U.S. government and the Taliban. So in one sense, they were natural. They had the relationships. On the other hand, the Portuguese were essential because the Portuguese had agreed to accept the orchestra as it transited through Qatar on its way to Portugal.
Ultimately, the Taliban had reluctantly agreed just to allow the group that had valid passports out. That was about 100 of them. That left almost 200 more still stuck in Afghanistan without the right paperwork.
When everyone else were evacuated from Afghanistan, they reached Doha safely. There was Zohra and Farida and their uncle left behind.
ما را فریده و زهره را با مشکل مواجه ساختن. اونجا متاسفانه ما با مشکل برخوردیم.
For me, it was important not to leave anyone behind. It was important to get them. They were the two youngest. They were also girls. They were girls musicians. So girls, musicians, under the Taliban, you have a hell in Afghanistan, not a life.
در این چند ماهی که در این روزایی که طالبان اینجا آمده من واقعا بسیار زیادتر ترس دارم. بسیار از تمام چیزا دلگیر شدیم. حال باید من چادر کلان بپوشم برم بیرون. فکر میکنم هر لحظه باید پشت دروازه ما که از ما پرسان کنه که شما اینجا چی کار هستین، چی میکردین، ما شما رو ویدیوهایتان دیدیم، شما موسیقی میخواندین.
Good evening, Qasim brother. The two girls did not make it for the flight, which is tomorrow, as their passport is not ready. The earliest flight that I consider, and I'm hopeful that we might be able to accommodate them and they will be able to get their passport on Saturday. The flight will be on Sunday. But again, it's not confirmed, but we're hoping that on Sunday we will be able to get the girls out of Kabul.
بعض وقتا ما در خانه میگفتم که شاید کار نشه پشت از ما چیکار کنیم. باز ما کلانیم میگفت نه باید امیدوار باشین به دکتر سرمست که شما رو میکشه. باز به گفای مادر کلانیم ما بسیار امید داشتم.
خدا دکتر سرمست رو مورد بده، خدا دکتر سرمست رو بشه شکی.
نگره خدا نگاه کنه خدا خاطر موفق باشد همیشه در تخت همه اولادای ما خوبه خاطر بفردن
اون کسی که ما بغل کرده بودم و وقت بسیار احساس ترک کردن و این واقعا بریم سخت بود بخاطر که اولین سفر ما بود که مثلا سفر میکردم.
من هم هیجان داشتم که از افغانستان میبرایم و یک قسم دلتنگی داشتم که بر مدت طولانی نمیتونم فامیل ما ملاقات کنم.
زهرا جان، فریده جان، دو نفر از آخرین بچه انستیتوت، شاگردای انستیتوت ملی موسیقی، تمام مشکلات رو پشت سر گذاشت و کمک و همکاری شبانه روزی و لطف و مهربان احسان استاد دکتر سرمست. بالاخره امروز 16 نوامبر یعنی در کابل ساعت 3:30 موفق شدن که در طیاره قطر ایرویز بشینه و طرف قطر بخیر پرواز کنه.
پس یک جای شدیم. پس یک جای شدیم کل ما. یک جای شدیم. کلگی منتظر. شکر که بخیر آمدید. شکر که از گیر طالب برآمدید. شکر که برآمدید. شکر.
خلاصه زیاد دق شده بودم پشت موسیقی، یعنی برای بسیار خوشایند بود که توانستم یک بار دیگه وایلون بنوازم. سول سول لا لا سول فا فا می می ره ره دو.
When Farida and Zohra came out of Afghanistan, they immediately joined the music scene in the compound. From the very first day when they arrived, they began singing and clapping and playing and enjoying the music once again, because after the arrival of the Taliban, music was out of their life.
تشنگی از لب ببریم، تشنگی از لب ببریم، تشنگی از لب ببریم. اوه با تو معلوم نشد دردهای دل من.
Your Excellency, distinguished guests, fellow Afghans, please me allow to present a very small concert by the students of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. You proved to be the best friend of Afghanistan. Thanks to your support,
خیر.
شکر که بخیر رسیدین، شکر که همتان صفا آوردین. خوشحال هستم که همتان از زندان طالب برآمدین و پس برتان فرصت مساعد شد که چیزی را که دوست دارین، موسیقی ادامه بدین، کار کنین. مسئولیت بزرگ به شانه های همتان است که حفظ میراث فرهنگیتان است.
و بسیار وقت خوب خوش بودم که مثلا آخرین نفرها ما بودیم و اولین نفرهایی هستیم که پای خود به لیسبون میکنه.
امروز من بسیار خوش هستم که توانستم از قطر بیایم در پرتغال و بسیار خوش هستم که میتونم اینجا به آرزوهایم برسم.
و بسیار خوشحال هستم که امروز اینجا هستم و طرفم غمگین هستم به خاطر فامیلم، به خاطر که اونا در کابل هستن.
We understood very early on that there was an absolute need to evacuate the ANIM from Kabul. They were under threat, of course, because the Taliban hate music, the Taliban hate culture. We felt that with ANIM we could make a difference by saying we're available not only to take a few hundred Afghan refugees, but we're available to give a home to the Afghan National Institute of Music so that it can keep up its work, so that it can allow Afghan culture to survive, to thrive outside of the country until the time when it is possible to return to Kabul and to Afghanistan.
همتان خوش. روز سال تعلیمی و هفته‌های تعلیمی براتان خوش. امروز اولین قدم به طرف تغییر است. 2 ماهی که گذشت ماهای مشکل برای همه ما شما بوده. اینطور نیست که همه چیز یک شب آماده باشه. همین که شما امروز مکتب میرین به این معناست که تغییر میاد. سر از امروز ساختن زندگی شما شروع میشه.
که در این مکتب در لیسبون کس بسیار ازش راضی هستم و هر وقت که میرم هیچ نمیخوایم که بیایم خانه. و از صنفای هم که داشتیم بسیار زیاد از کلشان راضی هستم به خاطر که تو رو تشویق میکنن و برای اجازه یک کار میتن. و فقط چیزی که میخوایم هم نیست که زودتر بتونم تکنیکایی را یاد بگیرم که بتونم خوبتر و بهتر از قبل کار کنم تا اینکه خوبتر شم، تا یک وایلنیست بهتر باشم.
وقت اینجا آمدیم بعد از تقریبا 2 یا 3 هفته بعدش برای ما یک ترومپت آورده بودن. ما بسیار خوش هستم که صنف ترومپتم دوباره شروع شده و میتونم چیزای بیشتر یاد بگیرم. شاید بسیار پیشرفت کردیم.
وقتی که امروز در ارکستر روز اول که رفتم مثلا بسیار برایم کمی سخت بود بخاطر که امرای پارچه امرای نوتا، بخاطر که وقتی بار اول یک جای میری بسیار بعضی چیزا برای سخت معلوم میشه. وقتی که با او تمرین کنی ادامه بدی و برای یک هدف بسازی که بتونی خود به او برسانی،
بسیار خوش هستم که در ارکستر هستم. چون ضرب گرفتن در ارکستر کمی سخت است، بر ارکستر میگم بعد ما قسم باریکی و کمی تمرین نیاز دارد.
I want to express my sincere gratitude to everyone who played a significant role in getting us out of Afghanistan to continue to revive and preserve Afghan musical traditions. Thank you to everyone and thank you to all friends of ANIM.
There's no society that I know of that doesn't have music. Music does something for us that brings us together, that equalizes us, that kind of gets us that incredible communal state of mind.
Hopefully, the seed that I grew up in Afghanistan in ANIM will further grow and give the fruit, and the ANIM students in Portugal who are currently in Portugal, ANIM students studying abroad, they're going to back to Afghanistan and do what I've been doing in Afghanistan, to bring music back into the life of Afghan people.
بعد از مکتبم که اینجا تمام کردم میخوایم دانشگاه خود در یک جای دیگه بخوانم و بعد از او که تانستم یک موسیقیدان واقعا عالی شوم میخوایم اگه مثلا رای برای من مساعد باشه بله میخوایم بخاطر که بازم یک شرایط پیش میاد که باز افغانستان بهتر میشه تا که بازم بتونم به چند طفل افغان دیگه بتونم موسیقی خود نشان بدم برایشان یاد بدم.
من لیزبون بسیار خوش دارم و همچنان مکتب خودم و آرزوهایی که دارم برسم مثلا ترامپت بنوازم و زمان طالبان نباشه خوش دارم دوباره به افغانستان برم.
What an incredible story. What a powerful message of community through music and the arts. I hope you all enjoyed watching the documentary with us. And I would like to invite two of our special guests to have a conversation with us about this documentary and about the role of the arts in general. And Dr. Ahmad Sarmast, so now you all know that he is the founder and director of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. The Academy has received very wide international attention and accolades. Dr. Sarmast and the Academy are winners of the 2018 Polar Prize, and Dr. Sarmast has received international honors for his work and his contributions to music education in Afghanistan. And Beth Mendelson is the director of the documentary. Beth is an award-winning documentary filmmaker and executive producer at Voice of America. Her work has focused on issue-oriented programming. Her prior films include Turkey Breaking the Silence, After Parkland, A Single Step, which CPD also screened a few years ago, and Boko Haram Journey from Evil, among many others. Beth has been an executive producer for major American and European networks, including PBS, CNN, ITN, and MSNBC. So welcome both of you to our program. And I would like to first invite Dr. Sarmast to give us a few remarks, and then Beth, you also share a few of your remarks, and then we go into a conversation about the documentary.
Good evening, everyone. It's a great pleasure and honor to be this evening with you, and thank you very much to the Center for Public Diplomacy for screening this wonderful documentary made by Voice of America, but also spreading the good news about the evacuation of the member of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. It was always clear to me, in spite of attempts to whitewash the Taliban, that the Taliban changed. It was always clear for me that the Taliban did not change, and the moment the Taliban will return back to Afghanistan, the people of Afghanistan will be deprived once again from all their musical rights, and the country will be once again silenced. And today that I'm speaking with you, Afghanistan is the only silent nation in the world. People of Afghanistan risking their life for listening to music. If Afghan musicians are caught playing musical instruments, they will be heavily punished. Some of you might have heard reports that young people in the province of Badakhshan has been killed just for listening to music in his mobile phone. You probably come across a media report from Afghanistan that in the eastern part of the country, a bride has been killed at the evening of her wedding when Taliban broke into their house and tried to silence the music, and while the family resisted, there was fire was opened, and as a consequence, the bride was passed away. There are reports also of the killing of musicians. From the very moment that the Taliban returned back to Afghanistan, destruction of musical instruments took place. Afghanistan National Institute of Music has been brought under their heels, but many musical instruments has been destroyed in the first few days. Afghanistan National Institute of Music and Afghan people lost not only their music, but we also lost our dreams, our inspirations. But the only way to return the dreams and the inspiration and to allow the Afghan kids to hope and to get the necessary skills to bring happiness and smiles to the people of Afghanistan through music was only to get them outside Afghanistan and give them freedom and enable them to dream. But Afghanistan National Institute of Music today is shut down. We lost access to our property in the same way that the youth of Afghanistan lost an opportunity to benefit from the beauty and the power of music. And today, the children of Afghanistan, the youth of Afghanistan, within Afghanistan, they're deprived from opportunities to listen to music, to play music, to learn music. Afghan musicians are not allowed to make a living through music. That was the only source of their income for many, many years. And today, while the Afghanistan National Institute of Music is in safety and we resumed our activities, and just recently we played our first gala concert after more than an year. But again, we are worried about the future of music in Afghanistan. We are worried about the musical heritage of the Afghan people. We are worried about the musical rights of the Afghan people and Afghan musicians. And this afternoon, while I'm here from this tribune, I would like to call on the international community and also to raise awareness that what's happening in Afghanistan, people should learn that once again, the Taliban silenced the entire nation. People should know that people get heavily punished and even risking their life for playing music and musical instruments in Afghanistan. And from this tribune, I call on the international community to join Afghanistan National Institute of Music in denouncing the ban of music in Afghanistan and condemning from the Taliban the restoration of the musical rights of the Afghan people.
Thank you, Dr. Sarmast. Thank you for sharing your story and sharing this very important call to all of us. We will have more conversations, discussions on that in just a few minutes. And let me turn to Beth. If you would share with us a few comments about your work on this particular documentary.
Thank you, Jay. And again, thank you to the Annenberg School for having us back with you, and to Dr. Sarmast for really the remarkable work that he's done with the orchestra and for allowing VOA to tell the story. My involvement in this came really in August of 2021. I watched what was going on with the people going through the gates, through the Abbey gates. And I had been through those Abbey gates maybe 5 or 6 times. I had been the chief of the Afghan service for Voice of America and used to go to Afghanistan. And I recognized that visual, that Afghanistan is such a stunning place visually, you very rarely will forget an image. And I remember going through with some of our anchors who were going to Afghanistan to interview President Karzai at the time, and they were not wearing hijabs. This was a revolutionary thing that we did early on, and the response to the girls coming through the airport without the hijabs really told me about how women were perceived in Afghanistan, and that this was a rather important thing that we were doing. But the film came to me from an article I read in the Washington Post. I wanted to figure out what we could do that was an important film that could not only tell the story of the fall of Kabul and what was going on with the Taliban, but something that was lyrical and something that was a little bit different than the horrible news stories that we were seeing. I was able to get in touch with Dr. Sarmast. I had a phone conversation with him to tell him what I was thinking. And while I spoke to him, he was in the middle of literally evacuating the whole 273 people of ANIM, and he was very busy. And I kept saying to him, how can we get involved in this? And he said, I'm doing all these different evacuations. I spoke to my bosses back at Voice of America. As it turned out, by the time Dr. Sarmast and I connected, all the groups, they had 5 groups of evacuees. There was only one group left, and that was Farida and Zohra Ahmadi, who are cousins, and their uncle Juma. So we did this all in real time. We didn't know when it was going to happen, how it was going to happen. So I found a cameraman in Afghanistan, in Kabul, and we waited until we got the green light. The uncle, it was a very delicate time. They were worried about how we were going to do this. We ended up taking the girls to a safe house because we wanted to be certain that they were in a place that no danger would come to them. The other thing we had talked about, because I knew I was doing a music school, is I wanted to have Farida playing a violin. And I knew that there was risk involved in that. We had a lot of different checkpoints. We had a hard time getting a violin, but we did get the violin there. And some of the beautiful imagery we have of her with the mountains in the background of her playing the violin, I think really set the stage for the kind of film we were able to make. So we did that. And then as we, finished up the day with them of filming, they were going to say goodbye to their grandmother, a very emotional event. We couldn't get our cameraman to do that because it was too dangerous. I had spoken to their uncle Juma and asked him if he could use his cell phone to take footage. But first time I'd ever really done anything like this as a filmmaker, but he did it. I spoke to him on the phone for a long time about how to do it, different angles and what to do. And it turned out that Juma, as luck would have it, is a pretty darn good cameraman. And he filmed the girls saying goodbye to their grandmother, which was also his mother. We were able to do that. He filmed them in the car going to the airport, and then when they were on the plane before they landed in Doha. That footage, I think, really set the tone for a lot of the emotion that you see in the film. We also had a cameraman in Doha that was following Dr. Sarmast on those last moments. You see him on the plane, and they really didn't know exactly when they were going to land, what was going on. So we were all waiting for that. But I think the moment that the girls land and they see Dr. Sarmast, I don't think there's any words that I need to tell you to describe. That is a visceral, beautiful scene. And I think the tension and the relief in Dr. Sarmast's face when he saw those girls, because as he said in the film, and I believe with all my heart, he was not going to leave anybody behind. And I think that's such an integral part of the story. The other thing that was so interesting is how Yo-Yo Ma got involved to really work with the government of Qatar. He had a relationship with them. The Portuguese government had made Portugal available. They wanted the orchestra to come there, but they needed a midpoint to get the orchestra. Yo-Yo worked with the government. They were able to go there as a lily pad, if you will, until they came to Lisbon. And I think we were able to show the process about what happened. Then we have them landing in Lisbon and to see their life. And when they went to Lisbon, essentially as refugees, leaving their families behind. And I think some of the struggles of what they've gone through there, the triumph of the spirit about how they were able to really learn Portuguese, learn English, be able to play their instruments, and in some cases getting instruments, because not all of the students had their instruments. I mean, it was a remarkable thing to witness. And I think we're very proud as an organization to be able to tell the story that was in real time, that really, I think, embraced the refugee story, a women's rights story, about music. We were very lucky that Dr. Sarmast was so gracious to give us a lot of the music that we used in the film, but we also had a composer in Washington, and Roger was able to take the music of Afghanistan, and Roger Hooper is a very talented man and was able to mix the soundtrack of the film to work with the Afghan music. That, you saw the various cuts from different orchestras. And then, we didn't really know how we were going to end the film. We were hoping we were going to have the concert. We didn't really know, but what came across so clearly in the film and from talking to the girls, because we really got to know the girls in the matter of months, both of them want to go back to Afghanistan, and they want to continue in Dr. Sarmast's work, and I think to their culture and what's important to them about Afghanistan. And I think we captured that in the film. And as Yo-Yo Ma said, music is an important part of their heritage and culture. And I think it comes across, or I hope that comes across in the film, and it resonated for our audience.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you very much for some of the backgrounds on making the documentary. I'd like to start a couple of questions with the two of you, and audiences also have some questions. And for our audience, if you have any questions, please send them in through the chat function. Dr. Sarmast, so the story that's shown in this documentary is the latest sort of episode of this incredible journey of the academy that you founded. And if you could tell us a bit more about your personal journey in founding and directing the academy, and then also what you are looking forward to the future of the Music Academy.
Thank you very much. The Afghanistan National Institute of Music has been established after the collapse of the Taliban in 2021. But of course, the school was not immediately established. It was established with some years of delay because I was still a PhD student at Monash University in Australia, but I was always dreaming one day to go back and to help Afghanistan and to pay back to my community. So in 2006, I first went to Afghanistan to see what's happened. What was the impact of the civil war? What was the years of the Afghanistan invasion, impact of the Russian invasion of Afghanistan? What was the impact of the dates of Afghan musician, the brain drain of Afghan musician, many of them who immigrated during the civil war and the first reign of the Taliban. So I was there to see what's happening. And after that, I prepared a report about the current state, about the state of music in Afghanistan, in which I clearly identified also the way forward. I was surprised to see in Afghanistan that everyone was talking about freedom of expression, but Afghan musicians still did not have their voice. I was surprised to see that everyone was talking about the establishment of a democratic society, but no one really paid attention to the cultural and the musical rights of the Afghan people. I remember my argument with the Afghan politician at the beginning, as well as with the member of the international community and donor community, when I was trying to get support for this political and financial support for the establishment of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. And I was telling to all of them that, come on, guys, democracy is not just the presence of number of political parties. It might be one element of democracy. I was talking to them that democratic society and just civil society cannot be established investing only on military forces of Afghanistan, but not investing in education, not investing in arts, not investing in culture. Even today, I strongly believe one of the reasons that led to the collapse of the republic in Afghanistan, it was not much needed attention paid to arts and culture in Afghanistan. The government, or probably we all us, failed to give an alternative to the ideology of radicalism and extremism in Afghanistan. But my idea from the very beginning was that the only way forward for Afghanistan in post-Taliban Afghanistan was returning the musical and the cultural rights of the Afghan people, creating and facilitating a condition where Afghan youths and Afghan children and the entire Afghan people have access to arts and culture and quality education, but of course to music. And that's why when I went to Afghanistan, I went to that strong belief in the soft power of music as one of the most essential items that Afghanistan post-Taliban needed, a country which was in that time about 25 or 30 years in war. Every single of the Afghan community has been traumatized and affected by years of civil war and the invasion of Afghanistan by the Soviet Union and then the Taliban time. So Afghanistan needed to benefit from the healing power of music. Afghanistan desperately needed from the unifying power of music, because Afghanistan was badly divided based on ethnicity during the civil war by the Afghan politician. Nothing else could teach Afghanistan and Afghan youths and Afghan people to respect each other's differences, respect each other's linguistic, ethnic, and religious differences, and peace in harmony. Nothing could teach them better than get engaged in dialogue and solve their problem rather than music, participating in music activities, playing in ensemble and orchestra, supporting each other in the orchestra, also taught them to support each other in real life. Getting engaged in dialogue in the orchestra also was teaching them to talk about their differences and live in peace and harmony and solve their problems. So I went to Afghanistan with that belief that music can contribute to many aspects of life, to the betterment of the disadvantaged kids of Afghanistan, to the empowerment and gender equality in Afghanistan, to the empowerment of girls. And also music was always, I strongly believe, and the 12 years that I was in Afghanistan clearly demonstrate that we, the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, through our public performances and through our international tours, in the most beautiful way, we connected Afghanistan with the rest of the world through music and musical performances. We also showed the other side of Afghanistan that most of the time has been overlooked in the media. So we tried our best to show that Afghanistan is not a safe haven of the terrorists. Afghanistan had a vibrant, rich musical history and musical heritage, and we've been trying to rebuild and share that beauty with the rest of the world. So that was the idea behind the establishment of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, if I'm going to make it short: reviving Afghan musical tradition, promoting musical diversity in Afghanistan, transforming the life of disadvantaged kids through music and education, promoting gender equality and empowering girls and women in Afghanistan, and finally, facilitating people-to-people and intercultural dialogue.
Thank you. We have an audience question. Which countries offered help to the group other than Qatar and Portugal?
I've sent appeal to many countries, including to the United States of America. But the government of Portugal was the very first one positively responded and without any hesitation agreeing to accept the entire group, not only accepting the entire group, but also helping the group to stay together and to resume and to continue what they've been doing in Afghanistan. The United States also, many people in the United States, including politicians, lawyers, philanthropists, offered their help and support, and also the United States tried their best to get us out of Afghanistan to safety. But while we've been working with all the partners, the Kabul airport was eventually got shut down, but again, we reached to everyone, but many people indicated their support. But again, it was the government of Portugal and Qatar that were more enthusiastic than anyone else to help and to support us. While at the same time, many people of goodwill in the United States, in other European countries, offered different type of support, including connecting us with the politicians, connecting us with the philanthropists, connecting us with the law firm and companies. So I think I can say that in spite of, yes, it's true that Portugal was the first one. Qatar played a significant role, but I would never, ever ignore the goodwill of many people from around the world. That the evacuation of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music was a teamwork involving philanthropists, lawyers, politicians, musicians, people of goodwill from all over the world who come around the Friends of ANIM Foundation, which is a non-for-profit organization based in the United States, which has been supporting Afghanistan National Institute of Music since 2015. And during the evacuation, that's Friends of ANIM, and that was probably the center where all the people of goodwill come together to help the students, faculty, and staff of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music.
Thank you, Dr. Sarmast. We are almost to the end of the program, but let's have two more questions. Beth, I wanted to ask you, you've made so many of these documentaries. In making this film, anything surprised you?
Well, I think as Dr. Sarmast was talking about is the coalition that came together to make this happen. I mean, I think the backstory about how complicated the evacuation was pretty interesting. And I don't know that everybody really understood how, globally, how many people came together to really help ANIM get them out. I found that was really fascinating. And while it was a good story, I think we wanted to make a lyrical film. I think all the facts were all there, but we wanted to really focus on the girls. We wanted to see the story of the evacuation through their eyes. I mean, Dr. Sarmast in the film was really the spine that told the story, but it was more through the eyes of the girls. And I think it was an effective way, it was an effective narrative to tell the story that Dr. Sarmast has just kind of elaborated on. But as a filmmaker, you have to make decisions. We could have led with Dr. Sarmast's story and made the girls a secondary story, but I think they were so inspirational, and to see it through their eyes really was an effective tool, I think, to tell the story.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. Dr. Sarmast, we have a question from the audience. Do you have any plans of doing a world tour with your students?
I would love to this, and I'm also very pleased that right now we are back in shape to have a tour around the world. That's one of the dreams that I'm currently thinking about, and definitely any support and any help in that direction would be most welcome. But we've got some other priorities right now here also in Portugal to reestablish our center, but also to continue our life, and everything is moving in the right direction. But a world tour will be probably very inspiring, and also yes, it will be very inspiring to share the beauty of Afghan music with the rest of the world, but also to tell and to show what's happening with a coalition of people of goodwill put their hands together Not it they saved our students, our faculty, but again, they're playing a significant role in safeguarding rich musical heritage of Afghanistan.
Well, thank you both again very much for taking the time and to share this remarkable, this inspiring story of music diplomacy. And the story also is a testament of citizen artistry. You know, citizens are young people, are artists, but our artists are citizens as well, and how we all come together to build the community, to spread the message of community. And so we are very grateful for your time. And thank you to our audience for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you in future programs. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.